Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I am so excited to be here today for another, episode of Friend Like Jesus. Give y'all a few minutes to jump on, but I am really excited about today's topic, why every expert needs a teaching brand, even if you never taught before, okay? So I'm going to talk about what that looks like because there is opportunity in expanding how we think about our brands if we become more strategic about what it is we are doing and who we are serving and how we intend to serve. So I'm going to jump in and start talking about what it looks like to brand like Jesus. So I think as humans, we tend to get really excited about the miracle working Jesus, the turning water into wine Jesus, the helping blind people see raising from the dead, but we tend to scoot past Jesus's origin story because we just want to get to the good stuff. That's just human nature, right? Like we want to fast forward to see what happens at the climax of the movie and then taper back off. But today I want to suggest to you all that what if the struggles you're facing in building your business have to do with some of those foundational pieces? What if some of the greatest skills that you have learned, the ones your clients need the most, were done while you were yet in your wilderness season, while you were still learning some of the things that would then be applicable, while you're building those 10,000 hours is something that has nothing to do with the textbooks that we have all read and collected over time. And so today, y'all already know I'm not going to be long unless y'all start talking to me in the comments. And good morning when you jump in. Feel free to tell me a good morning, wave. But we're going to try to get in and out here, of course, in about 30 minutes to give you some Wednesday nuggets. Today's scripture is going to be from Matthew 4, 1 through 11, and Luke 4, 1 through 13. Again, recounting the early seasons of Jesus before the Jesus brand that we know today. And I wanted to unpack this for a few minutes because, like I said, it's really easy to skim past the genealogy conversation, to flip past and then get right to the cross, get right to all of the things, the meat and potatoes. Good morning, Iris. Thank you for joining. To get right to those meat and potato moments of Jesus. And we skip everything that happened leading up until that moment. Right? Because the wilderness isn't flashy, right? Being tempted by the devil, no one wants to admit that they've been tempted or that they succumbed to temptation, or that while we were yet tempted, we start hiding those parts. Well, if the Bible talks about the temptation moments, then I think we as business leaders should talk about how we overcome some of those situations and how we can start valuing more those preparation seasons that all of us have gone through to get to where we are today. Good morning. Good morning. For those of you who are just joining, because we are drawn to the visible results of our brand. We are drawn to seeing the likes and clicks and comments and the reshares. Of course, we all want to generate our income from our business, but I want to challenge all of us today to go inside the depths of the entry part of the story and see how it applies to our business, how we talk about our business, and how we can serve our clients at the highest level based off of the lessons that we've learned in our journeys and the lessons that we continue to learn. I remember when I first started my business a couple of years ago, and everyone said, just get testimonials. And I'm like, what am I getting a testimonial about? Like, I have no clients. My testimonials were kind of a hodgepodge of every life experience I had had in corporate. And right, they were trying to get me to skip to the testimonial part, and I didn't have a foundation. I didn't have a foundational understanding of the skill sets that I had been developing while I was transitioning out of corporate and into branding myself as the me that I am today. I missed some of those key moments, and it set my business back because I thought I just got to skip through that part to say, okay, yep, here's what I offer. When really the posts that get the most traction, the conversations that get the most activity, the emails that get the most clicks are the ones where I start talking about my journey, about the wilderness season that I was in. Everything from, what it looked like to exit corporate suddenly, to talking about overcoming um, and entering into a season of sobriety, of dealing with anxiety, of starting a business as a single female. So those are the connection points that have made all the difference in my business. Even though when people work with me, they're like, yep, I need a brand, I needed this, I needed that. Fundamentally, it was the journey that connected my clients, that continue to connect my clients to me. So if you're struggling with client attraction, lead generation, struggling with figuring out where that next client is coming from, I want to invite you to explore your origin story in a different way and see what nuggets, what pieces can you start pulling out. And the challenge that I believe that we all have, especially those of us who are experts, who are used to leaning into our expertise, who are used to being forward with our education, is people are seeking that level of vulnerability from us. And yet we are fearful that if we show that part, that it's going to cost us clients, or it's going to cost us some business conversations. But I want to suggest today, that those wilderness moments, those moments that felt really tough in our journeys, are fundamentally what fuels our core values and how we do the work that we do. I recently was talking to someone about spiritual gifts and how I have learned how to leverage my spiritual gifts in my business. A question I often get asked is, how do you do what you do? And for a while, I didn't have a real solid answer about that, because how I do what I do is fundamentally built on the spiritual gifts that I've been blessed with. And so if you've never taken a spiritual gifts assessment, definitely leave me a comment below, or reach out to me, because I do have a spiritual gifts assessment that I like to run all of my Christian female founders through. But I want to go ahead and jump in to the 5 T's. The 5th T is obviously, I would love for all of you all to think about how you're teaching people about your business and whether or not you can or should include that inside your business platform. Okay? And I'm thumbing through my notes because that's what all teachers do. So the first thing, when we look at the brand building process of Jesus, is number one, he was tempted, right? It starts out here is Jesus, he's born, etc. And they leap right into in Matthew 4:1, Jesus being tested for 40 days. Well, I would love to give that one to you. And I wish I could. Diane, good morning. Good morning. I will make sure to share that one with you. Absolutely. But it begins with Jesus in the wilderness for 40 days, where he is tempted by the devil. Now, this stage represents the preparation season. It is setting the spiritual foundation that Jesus is going to need so that he can weather everything else that is to come. Okay? The temptation season, we tend to slip by and skip by, but if we are all being honest, right? How many of us would want to talk about who I didn't eat for 40 days? People would be looking at us a little bit strange. How many of us are willing to say, here's how I was tested and tempted in life? Drugs, alcohol, addiction, anxiety, depression, whatever that is. And here's what I look like on the other side of our journey. How many of us are willing to be responsible stewards of the path that makes us us? But we don't want to talk about that stuff, because that stuff is unclean and it's dirty and it's icky and it's nasty and all of these things. But those are the moments, the key moments, that set the stage for you to serve the way that you do. So I want to suggest to you all to really make a list of those temptation moments that you've overcome. Or maybe you said, you know what, I didn't overcome it, but here's what I learned. Both parts are okay, and they all make you you. Now, while Jesus being tempted and tested in the wilderness, he starts to speak God's truth over the temptation, right? He says, here's how I'm affirming the season that I'm in. And he begins establishing the foundation that says God's word is above all words. When we are yet sharing our temptation season, when we are sharing the trials and tribulations that we've gone through, the best thing that we can do, not only for ourselves, but those that we are serving, is to be honest, is to face those truths, is to share those truths in a way that honors us, honors our audience, and does not re-trigger not only ourselves, but the people who are seeking information from us. I had a client who went through a really tough temptation season. And when I asked her, because we were developing her keynote, I said, well, what part of that story do you intend to share? And she said, oh, none of it. I don't want to re-trigger my audience. So if that is you, I want to suggest to all of us for a second that if you believe you're going to re-trigger your audience from saying something, either A, you're not speaking to the right people, or B, you still got some work to do on that story so that you can approach it from a more neutral stance, right? When I talk about job loss and and all of the things that I went through, and I said, you know what, I didn't lose a job. I was being repositioned so I can do this. I now talk about the transition out of corporate differently. I no longer call it a job loss. I call it a transition moment. And so I want to invite you all to think about the words that you are using when you start talking about your temptations, when you start talking about your truths, and how you're sharing that information with the world through your social media posts, through your emails, through however you are building and nurturing your community, because your words do matter. And if you are concerned about triggering or re-triggering someone, I want to say maybe check our language, check our words, and make sure that these are words that not only make sense for you, but also make sense to your audience. Okay? So first was the temptation. Next was the telling of some truths. And then the next thing that happens, and again, depending on who the author is, and I love that the word, reaffirms itself when you're flipping through text, is that Jesus began building his tribe of people, right? So we are coming out the wilderness season, and he starts building his tribe. And so often we brag about being solopreneurs. Jesus was a solo person, but he had a tribe of people around him who were willing to accept his truths, see his temptations for what they were, and go and start talking about it on his behalf. His tribe, his disciples, his close group of people would then later carry his message forward. If you are trying to build your brand and your business without help, I would say that that is not the best path forward. You are going to need ambassadors. Anytime someone talks about me or my business or my brand, I thank them for being a brand ambassador, and I make sure that they are using the exact words that I need for them to use to make sure they are in alignment with the message that I am sharing. That means I've got to be really solid about my truths. I got to be really careful about how I'm communicating my values. And I've got to make sure that anything I share with the world matches and aligns with everything I want the world to know about me. Okay. So he builds his tribe, who are then carrying forward his message so that he can continue to reach more people. You all already know I believe in building global brands. Okay. When we are called into purpose, there is no limit to how many people we can serve and all of the ways we can serve if we are paying attention to what the world really needs from us. I don't want us to miss out on personal growth opportunities or opportunities to serve because we're fearful of sharing our stories, because ultimately that is what being in business is. A part of the next gen of entrepreneurship is intelligently sharing your story. And this is nothing to do with being an influencer, right? Like that's a market. There's a market for being influencers, but I'm talking about being genuinely influential. And the way to do that is to have some personal skin in the game when you are sharing back your story, when you are communicating to your clients how and why you work, and the ways that you can serve them at the highest level. And that totally is dependent upon everything you've gone through, even if you think it is small. It is dependent upon every single textbook you've read, every life experience you had and continue to have, even if you think it is minuscule. All of the parts of you matter. I recently put in the chat GPT as I was tweaking my title, and it said something like voice rebrand strategist. And I was like, ooh, a voice rebrand strategist. That sounds like a really cool title. But play with it. Think, do I have the right title attached to my name so that when other people are talking about me, they are saying the right things, they are using the right words. The next thing, so we've got our temptation, we've got our truth, we've got our tribe, is testimonials. Like I said, Jesus was taking receipts. He said, hey, this is what I'm about to do. This is what I did. Go tell other people. Once you do something, be fearless, be bold, be intentional about saying, this is what I did, and here's why it works. I meet so many women in business who said, oh, that's just that little thing that I did over there, when that is the thing, right? We have gift envy because we see this other person serving in what we believe are strengths, and then we call it imposter syndrome, or we say, oh, I'm not good enough, or I don't know enough, right? And we start minimizing all of the ways that we are helping and serving and bringing forth truth into the work that we do. So I really want us, when we're collecting our testimonials, when we're having other people share those back, to really look at them with intention. An exercise that I love doing with all of my clients is reading through those testimonials, and I ask them, do you agree with what this person said about you? If you do not agree with the testimonials you're getting, then don't use them. I'd rather you have fewer testimonials that are of a high quality than a lot of testimonials that don't have synergy and alignment with where your brand is and what you are doing. Okay? I would much rather you have that than the alternative. So once you get your tribe of people together, once you get your brand ambassadors together, start figuring out what are those very specific words that are in brand alignment that you want people to leave you testimonials about, and then teach them. This is the fifth one. Teach them how to use those testimonials. Okay. Teaching is the core of what every expert does, whether or not we realize it, whether or not we've ever been a school teacher like myself. Teaching is at the core of the work that we do. So that means we have got to be very intentional with what we are teaching people to say and how we are teaching to people to treat us and to talk about the work that we do. An exercise that I love doing with my clients is a fill in the blank exercise. Like, if you could have someone say these exact things about your business, what would they be? And then when you're going and asking for testimonials, you literally feed your clients, you feed the person who is leaving you those testimonials, those words. And literally, it can happen in a small email. Hey, and I'm going to use Iris. I just saw Iris's name on the screen. Hey, Iris, thank you for agreeing to leave me a testimonial. The key words that I need you to use about my business are the following. I would like for you to use them in this way, but feel free to add context based on your experience with me. That is the way to elevate your testimonials. And that is how you start teaching people how to talk about you and your business and the work that you do. The next thing, when you think about your teaching, is how you are teaching other people what you do well. I am a firm believer in creating coursework, creating standard processes, and creating curriculum so that you have a tried and true process to steward people through every single time that they work with you. Now, that is the teacher in me because, again, professor, teacher, all of it. But when you think about ways to maximize your brand, expand your brand, especially if you're in service to others, the best thing you can do is develop some core teaching principles and practices so that you can leverage the information that you already have in different ways. For me, doing LinkedIn Lives every Wednesday, this is a form of teaching for me. This is a part of my teaching brand. And while there's no direct monetization or compensation from this, I'm teaching, I'm serving, I'm casting my global net to audiences who need to hear from me. And I'm also repelling the people who want nothing to do with my Christian values, which is okay too. When you are going forth and speaking truth and talking about what you talk about, please know that it is okay to repel people who are never going to be for you, because that means you are drawing to and drawing close to you the people who do need you the most, the people who will value everything that you have to offer and will continue to compensate you at the levels that you know you deserve. So this is why I say every single expert needs to have a teaching brand. We are literally leaving income opportunities on the table because we don't know how to synthesize and put together all of our expertise into something that is going to make sense for our audience and something that is repeatable. Okay? When you start purposefully teaching, you're going to start being a lot more bold with your messaging. You have no choice because you got to stand firm on whatever that thing is that you're teaching. You have to stand firm on, this is the thing, this is the process, this is my expertise, and here is why it works. So this is more than just teaching though, right? Like this is also about the legacy that you intend to leave because of all of the things that you're doing. Teaching is not about knowing everything. It's about knowing enough. I tell people all the time, your 80% is someone else's 20%. To be the expert in the room is to have 1% more knowledge than your audience. So when you start looking at what you do from that lens, know that you've got content for days, months, years, because as you continue to teach, you're going to continue to upskill, which means you're going to have more opportunities to serve at a different skill set and at a higher level. And I know this is not what, traditional business models talk about, right? Because when we think about building a teaching platform, it can seem like a very daunting task. And then we start asking ourselves like, well, is this going to bring in quick revenue? Well, it may or it may not, but you're again setting the foundation. We think, oh, well, I'll just jump on a popular trend because this is what everyone else is teaching about. And I want to say, I forgot who the marketing expert is, but literally he said, when everyone else zigs, you need to zag. How are you zagging in your business through those 5 T's, right? We start asking ourselves, well, maybe I should discount my prices until. And I want to suggest to you that setting your price is also a form of teaching people how much to value you and the services you offer. If you start discounting and super discounting and hyper discounting, know that you're teaching people that that's where you deserve compensation. Okay. A lot of people are fearful of building teaching brands because they think, oh, that means I got a niche down, and that doesn't feel good for me. I feel confined or boxed in. That's not what it should feel like. If that's what it feels like, then I want to invite you to reassess what it is you're teaching on and what you're talking about, and go back through your story to figure out, are there different things that people value more from you than the things that meet the eye? This is why testimonials are also really important, because the more people talk about you, the more you learn about what it is people value about you the most. When I first started my business, I just knew people wanted my resume writing, and that was it. So I wrote resumes and I was like, ooh, this is just not going to work for me. And then I said, well, maybe people want me because of my image. Okay, fine. Let me start helping people put on clothes and get ready to go. And I was like, this isn't working. And then I found what people actually were desiring from me, from sharing my truths, the journey that I was going through. And I had someone reach out to me a couple of days ago on LinkedIn, and she said, thank you for sharing your story. It is mine. Those are the types of moments that I chase, that I live for, because that means that if it happened to me, then what I learned from that experience, I can then help this person not have quite such a hard path if they're going through it as well. That's the lens that I truly believe we've got to start looking at when we're thinking about how we're serving and who we're serving. What hard fought lessons do we have that we can share to make someone else's path easier? And it had nothing to do with my expertise. She was like, yep, we're in HR together, but here's really why I want to partner with you, because you came out on the other side with these gifts and talents and skills and abilities. And this is what I want to do as well. I want to get paid to speak as well. Will you show me how? So those are the 5 T's. Like I said, I wanted to keep this smack dab under 30 minutes. I think it was Diane. Diane, if you're interested in that spiritual gifts assessment, I will be sure to DM you with that. Y'all, I am on fire for this series. And next week, if you are an aspiring speaker, and this is something that I tell all of the ladies who partner with me, study other speakers. And when I started studying other speakers, I said, well, I want to learn from the best speaker there was, the best orator there was, the best teacher there was. That is Jesus. And so next week, we are going to look at the structure of the greatest speech ever told, which is the Sermon on the Mount. We're going to look at the structure of it. We're going to look at the story arc that Jesus created in the Sermon on the Mount, and how you can start applying that same framework inside your business. Because in addition to every expert needing to be a teacher, I believe every woman in business should be a paid professional speaker. The speaking industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and women are not represented enough. Women of color are not represented enough. So if I can help you get paid, thank you. If I can help you get paid to speak, then that is the ultimate goal. There is no excuse for us not to get compensated for our good works, for our expertise, and for all the things that that we are great at, but we might not realize it. So I want to thank you all for attending today. If you're interested in learning more about how to work with me, definitely reach out, send me a note. Thank you, Diane. Yes, I will see you at 11 on 11/7. So that's tomorrow. I will see you tomorrow. For everyone else, please have a blessed day, and I will see you next week. Bye for now. Oh, thank you, Iris. Thank you so much.